Welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. We are we are at the high school in the Midday Cafe. Mike, I believe we're going to be in a different location our next meeting. Is that correct?
We're hoping to, yes. We wanted to talk about it at the end of this meeting.
Okay, so we'll talk about that at the end. But for now, that's where we are. If anybody wants to come down. And before we get started, I'll ask everybody to stand and we will say the pledge.
It's right there.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, they were all looking. First up, disclosure of conflict of interest. Is there any votes happening tonight where someone has a conflict of interest? Mr. Thomas.
I have a conflict on Resolution 196-2020.
So noted. Anybody else? Seeing as none, we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Could I get a motion for the approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? I need a roll call.
Council Morris?
Yes.
Councilor Oliveira?
Yes.
Councilor Mayu?
Yes.
Councilor Foss?
Yes.
Councilor Frankie? Councilor Frankie?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to new business, Resolution 196, 2020.
I'll make a motion to take all of the items on the agenda by title only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilor Morris?
Yes.
Councilor Oliveira?
Yes.
Councilor Mayu?
Yes.
Councilor Foss?
Yes.
Councilor Frankie?
Yes.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, now Resolution 196, 2020.
An ordinance providing for enactment of an emergency powers ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Oh, I read that wrong. 86, excuse me, 186.
Well, we're already on.
I knew what you meant.
All right, we are open for discussion.
Was there a motion to adopt in a second?
Yep.
Yes. Anybody have any commentary? Seen as none, Councilor Frankie.
I just wanted to say that I think Bill Lee has done an excellent job of putting together something that gives the city manager the opportunity to act quickly in the case of emergency, while at the same time making sure that council remains involved. A nice job, Bill.
Agree.
Absolutely.
Seeing that there is no other questions or commentary, we'll move for a roll call, please.
Councilor Morris?
Yes.
Councilor Oliveira?
Yes.
Councilor Mayu?
Yes.
Councilor Foss?
Yes.
Councilor Frankie?
Yes.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
New business, now it's Resolution 196, 2020.
A resolution providing for amendment to Resolution 190, 2020 Search Committee.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And is there any discussion? Councilor Foss.
I would like to amend that we remove all sitting city councilors from the committee members list.
Is there a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second, and so we are open for discussion. Councilor Foss.
My reasoning for that is that I don't feel that councilors should be sitting on a search committee when we're going to have the final say on it. That the public should whittle that down and then hand us a list. That's my reasoning.
Well, when we went through these discussions, I will say there were definitely two distinct schools of thoughts on that, and we were probably, as a group, split almost in half. I think the city manager, as well as Councilor Morris, had that same approach, myself and Councilor Frankie both took the approach of include everybody, because if you're going to have a better chance of whittling it down to a final group that's going to pass a vote and select somebody that the council likes if the council is more involved in the front end of that. And I should be noted too, we did talk about, and we will be having, I don't think we've ironed out all the details, and somebody who is in the room, correct me if I'm wrong, we will have some public meetings where we allow the public to come in and come up and give commentary about what they would like us to be looking for and searching for in a city manager, different qualities. I know clearly we're going to be involving some of the city staff and department heads. But I mean, I guess I could go either way on this, but certainly open for discussion. Councilor Frankie?
Well, it's pretty clear to me that the council, it's council's responsibility, and I just don't see a very good reason for councilors to advocate their responsibility. We're going to have to make the decision ultimately, and having been involved in the process from the get-go, I really think that it's important for council to remain involved all the way through the process.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can see the arguments for both. I know when I asked Mike to put together a meeting of the group to get us back together, you know, I was of the adage of just get rid of them all, or we add them all. And, you know, I think that it was clear that, you know, just having, you know, the 3 or the 2 counselors and then we added the 1, you know, last week, you know, just really didn't really seem to make sense, you know, after you think about it and, you know, as I had more time to think. So my thoughts as I went into the meeting was we either add them all or we take them all away. And, you know, when we walked away from the meeting, I felt that there was probably more benefit to adding them all than just to taking them all away. Okay. And, you know, so that's what I'm advocating for, you know, tonight as we move forward, that we add all the counselors to this committee. And then, again, the staff and, you know, we try to get, you know, 7 members of the public. Because the one thing that we didn't really have was how big this committee could be. And you know, in talking with Dave, there really isn't, Dave Barrett from the, you know, Municipal Association, there really isn't a number. It doesn't really matter if you have, you know, 5 or 20. And I think hearing that and being able to have that resonate, be like, okay, we now have the ability to add more people from the public to get them involved. You know, why not be involved with them? And that was kind of my adage, is for going for adding all of the counselors.
And just to give a little insight into how the process would go, one of the things we talked about was right now we have 30 very high quality resumes. I feel really good. I haven't gone through every single one. I've glanced at all of them and I've just started to really go through in depth, but there's definitely some quality candidates. And I think what we would do is have everybody go through them that's on this committee and pick out their top 3 or top 5 and come to a meeting and say, all right, who are the top 5 people if you were going to talk to, and rank order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we could narrow it down. At the end of the day, I think hopefully we could, you know, select a top, you know, 6, you know, maybe, and maybe you go through the first 3 and see how that goes. But I think Dave felt it would go pretty quick. Actually, he's been through this a lot. He's very experienced in the process. We all felt pretty comfortable, I think, with that. So I don't think the size of the committee is going to make a difference, which was an argument for including both counselors, the public, as well as you know, employees from the city who obviously are the most stable in the entire group of people who are going to work with that position and understand the ins and outs, and we'll certainly be offering that person a lot of guidance on the front end. So, Councilor Mayhew?
Yeah, as long as we are talking about the whole council being involved, as I'm perceiving that we are, right, Mike?
Well, right now we're discussing Rick's amendment to take all the councils off, so.
Yeah, so like all or nothing is what we're
Right.
talking about.
So, and you guys were kind of split on the conversation, whether have it all or none. I understand Council Frankie's, question, well, not question, statement about, since we're going to make the ultimate decision, and you guys have been set. I will say that, both of them have been involved from the beginning, and they have knowledge, and they should be, probably involved. But I think having the council completely and utterly involved as well in the process, along with obviously city employees and some private taxpayers, which is the list still needs to be finalized. Is a comprehensive look at everything as far as this important. One of the most important things that we can do as a community is to decide the future of the city manager position, which is basically the same thing as electing a president to a community. It's really the city manager's job to oversee and direct the community into the right direction with our oversight. So it's definitely something, if we can all be together on this and not make it a partisan thing and keep it to, what the community goals and targets are. I can see both sides, but I can weigh in on both sides of this, as been stated by several members here.
Any further discussion? Roll call on the amendment?
Counsel Morris?
No.
Counselor Oliveira? What was that? I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Thank you. Counselor Mayu?
No.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
No,
Counselor Thomas is abstaining. So it's 1 in favor and 4 opposed.
Okay, any discussion in general on it as is?
Well, I mean, when you say that, like, we now have to discuss, right? The purpose of this is to set the committee, right? Like,
Right.
So, yeah. So we need to speak about that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we met last week, to kind of get the grasp on how we wanted to present this, I think the goal of it was pretty strong right off the bat that we wanted to make this as non-political as we possibly could, which is why we had the discussion about adding all or taking all away the city councilors. And when we had the original list, we did see both Jay and Phil's name on there as members and people that wanted to see. And, we as a committee felt that in order to keep this non-political, that we wouldn't allow either of them to sit on this committee, so that this didn't turn into, campaign, fodder, or, just came from a great meeting. We have some great candidates, just to get rid of all of that. So that was our recommendation, is that we remove those two from consideration. And then really just try to look and make sure that we have representation, a good representation from the city. And I know, we put the word out that we wanted one from, every ward. I don't know that we got that, so I think we have enough names to round things out. We can certainly talk about that, but that's kind of where we're at this point.
Yeah, and Dave, also having gone through this process a lot, recommended that we not bring in current political candidates into the mix here, because you don't want this becoming, the city manager search to becoming politicized and having, just like Councilor Morris said, being used as part of like the campaign trail or stump speeches and things like that. We really want this to be, a good process, one that the entire community feels is good, is above board, and at the end of the day, is very objective and non-political, because the city manager ultimately, according to the city charter, is an apolitical position. And that's the purpose, is to have that steady hand while the rest of these seats up here rotate every several years. So, Councilor.
Given that statement and following up with Councilor Morris's statement, my name should not be on that list.
Well, you're not running for city government, though. Like,
Yeah.
you're not running
We're
for an
talking about
active
a
city.
but we're talking about a political atmosphere.
Well, talking about like a city I mean, that was our mindset. I didn't think about your state
I'm gonna leave it-
goals
I'm
and
gonna leave it to the
aspirations,
council.
but
I think if you, I mean, we could certainly find, that would mean we'd have to find 2 people from Ward 5 to get equal representation. I'm sure we could do that if we needed to. And it does mean for Ward 2 and for Ward 5 right now, as is, even if you stay. Yeah, one sec. We would have to.
Flavia's running.
What?
No, Flavia's running for, like if that's.
Yeah, but she's a current sitting councilor.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you have a role, Rick, as a current city councilor.
I mean, Flavia is going to be part of the decision for
Right, well,
selecting
as
the
is
city
Rick.
manager. Councilor Frankie?
I just want to address your concerns, Rick. You're a city councilor right now, and you're going to have to vote on the final decision to hire the manager. What we're looking at in terms of the manager search is for the most competent person that we can find. And the list that we've got right now has a whole bushel full of good, excellent candidates. So your input on the further narrowing of the field, Rick, is going to be essential for us to get to the correct decision on this.
Noted.
All right. Councilor Thomas, who's
Well-
abstaining from this one?
Right, and I just want to say, because I'm abstaining, I don't know if it needs to be made, an amendment needs to be made that I won't be one of the city councilors participating in this committee. I mean, I won't be either way, but I don't know if it should be made officially part of this resolution.
Yeah, why not?
I'll make that motion.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Flavia had a question.
All right, Flavia?
What was the motion?
I don't know when, like the time, but I also have somebody that I want to nominate for the city manager search.
Let's vote on the amendment to officially exclude Eric Thomas.
Okay.
And then we can bring that in, right? We can do that right here tonight? Yeah? Okay. Can I get a roll call on the motion to exclude Eric Thomas?
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Mayu,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie.
Yes?
The vote is 5 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, Flavia, the floor is yours.
Alrighty, so I wanted to nominate John Robinson. I actually spoke with him today, and I think that he would really be a really good candidate to be on the search committee. And he's from my ward, so yeah, he was a really nice guy to talk to.
That name was John Robbins.
John Robinson, you said, correct?
Yeah, Robinson.
Is there a second?
Is there a second?
Second.
Sid, give a second. Discussion, is there any discussion? All right. I think we can take a roll call on that.
Council Morris,
Yes.
Council Olivera,
Yes.
Council Mayu,
Yes.
Council Foss,
Yes.
Council Frankie.
Yes?
Vote is 5 in favor and 0 opposed.
Any other amendments tonight?
So question, are we nominating somebody from our wards during this session?
Well, I think, do we have the original list of the names that we had
There is
to
an original
pick
list,
from,
but-
and the people that we had over the course of, the last, when we met last, 2 weeks?
Right, and these are people who had expressed interest. There is 2 people there from Ward 6, so obviously that's not going to work out.
Well,
But I know Cindy Jacobs is the only person from Ward 4 who's reached out,
we have
far
a
as-
nomination for Ward 4.
as far as I know.
Yes.
So I would just assume keep her on the list. If that's what you had in mind, I don't know if you had somebody else in mind.
Well,
Oh,
we
you-
had,
oh, you-
I was approached before
Okay.
by somebody.
Oh, and you had put forward a name as well.
I did put forward a name, I did email that.
Yeah, you did.
Well, I mean, it's
For
not
Ward
secret.
4.
We can say Chris. I mean, like,
Chris Gauntz.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
So if that needs to be put in as an amendment, then
Is that who you would nominate from Ward 4, since you're the Ward 4 counselor?
yeah.
Second.
So
Sick.
then you're nominating Chris Gauntz
Yep.
Correct.
from Ward 4, and there's a second. Okay.
You know, I'm not opposed to keeping Cindy Jacobs on this committee because I think she does have some insight and stuff, but
She
we
does, but we can't just stack it with multiple people.
we can't stack it, so that's, I was approached first.
well, I mean, we don't have, do we have a Ward, do we have a Ward 3 any representation from Ward 3? That
That I
anybody's
don't
reached
know.
out?
Right.
Mike?
Haven't heard of any.
I mean,
I have someone, actually.
okay, great.
Do we want to do a roll call on Ward 4? Get that locked in?
Yeah, well, that's good.
Okay, so we're voting on the nomination of Chris Gauntz. Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counsel Olivera?
Yeah, because that, no, because I don't. Oh,
What'd you say?
What?
I'm sorry?
Say that again?
I said no.
Okay. Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
So that's 4 in favor and 1 opposed.
From Ward 3, Ward 3, I will probably have to email you the spelling. Volodymyr Kurylo,
What's the last name?
KurYlo.
Okay.
Counselor Frankie?
I'll note that you are not a counselor, Mr. Mayor.
I'll move that.
I'm just putting a name out there.
I'll move
Thank-
that nomination.
There we go. Could I have a second?
Second.
I'll point out that Councilor Foss is not the representative of Ward 3. He's going to be able to make his own nomination for Ward 5.
There's actually no rules on this. The council can do it at once tonight, but we'll note that as we take a roll call.
All set?
Yes.
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counsel Olivera?
No.
Counsel Mayu?
Yes.
Counsel Foss?
Yes.
Counsel Frankie?
No.
So that's 3 in favor and 2 opposed.
Okay.
Amy's good. Nick?
What?
Can I just ask a question? What is the fellow's first name?
It's Volodymyr, Volodymyr.
Are we moving on?
Yep.
Okay, Ward 1, Marilyn Canavan is who
Second.
will represent Ward 1, who I nominate to represent Ward 1.
So that's a motion, I'm assuming?
Yeah, that's a motion, yeah, whatever.
There's-
So second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counsel Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
Vote is 5 in favor and 0 opposed.
Counselor Foss? Frankie? I was looking at
I'm
the
sorry,
right.
which of us is next?
That's you, Clyde.
That's you. I was looking at the right guy. I just had the wrong name. Sorry.
Okay, I'm going to nominate Lisa Evans from Ward 6.
Lisa Evans?
Lisa Evans.
Is there a second? Or-
Second.
Any discussion? And we'll take a roll call.
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counsel Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes,
The vote is 5 in favor and 0 opposed.
Counselor Fox?
I don't know the rules of engagement here,
Okay.
but I'd like to nominate my wife, Rebecca Foss.
I don't,
If anybody has a conflict of interest with that, please bring it to my attention now.
the city attorney's right here. I mean, school teachers can vote on their own budget here, so I don't know what the big deal would be.
I don't think there's anything that really prohibits it. This is a very unusual procedure to begin with, and it's the counselors who are going to make the final decision.
Right.
So, I don't see a problem.
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second.
Counselor Frankie?
well, just to address your concerns, Mr. Councilor Floss, this committee will be simply narrowing the list of people that we'll be looking at, that we'll be bringing in for interviews. So it's not one of those things that I could see there being a conflict of interest unless it's over your own kitchen table.
If I end up in a divorce, I'll know why.
All right, I think we're ready for a roll call.
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes,
Vote is 5 in favor and 0 opposed.
Is that who? Yeah, so,
One ward left.
We have Ward 7,
Ward 7.
and Mike, refresh my memory, I believe I don't have the original list that was from last week, because I know we had a bunch of names before, but if my memory serves to be correct, the only person that reached out from Ward 7 was Paula Raymond.
It's the only one I got.
Yep. I saw the same thing.
So I make a motion that we add Paula Raymond as the Ward 7 representative.
Seconded.
any discussion? I think we're ready for a roll call.
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
yes,
Vote is 5 in favor and 0 opposed.
So can we
Mr.
say
Mayor?
move as amended?
Yes, Mike?
Before we leave this item, just wanted to confirm the timetable. People okay with the timetable as it's shown on the top of the list, top of the sheet? And the second thing that the committee talked about last week was holding the first meeting of this search committee next Wednesday, the 9th, September 9th. So I'd like to throw that out. If there are any issues from anyone here, let's hear it. If not, we'll proceed to do a poll and see how many people we can get for next Wednesday night.
What time?
Well, I guess that's kind of up to the committee itself. They haven't met, so we'll have to set a time and say 7 o'clock, the standard for now, but
That's so we don't have to buy dinner for everybody.
Good call.
ultimately, that will be up to the committee going forward, when they want to meet. It may be that many of them, all of them, can meet late afternoon.
That's great.
All right?
September 9th?
September 9th, Wednesday, September 9th. Very good. Oh, and where?
We'll need to find a location.
It's a big committee.
The wife says that she can do any time.
Okay? All right? We'll announce the location.
How about the IT conference room?
I'm thinking no. 17 people?
Okay.
So is that the end of the amendments for that? Because
Yes, so I guess we have to
We need to move it as
amended.
amendment.
Move as amended.
Second, please.
Second. Unless I
And
moved it.
roll call, please.
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
Vote is 5 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right, Resolution 197, 2020.
A resolution providing for acceptance of bid for plaza repairs.
Motion, yeah, that. Move to adopt. Thank you.
Second.
Wow.
All right, any discussion? Counselor Frankie?
It seems like an awful lot of money that we're going to spend to do something that's going to be broken again in 4 or 5 years. I would ask that instead of squandering $60,000 today, that we think about doing a short-term patch on the thing, and instead look at doing a long-term solution that won't have to be repaired every 4 or 5 years.
I think we actually have an answer for that, don't we, Mike? Because we're actually going to, it's actually, the way this got broken down, we're going to be avoiding by how we treat it in the winter in the future. Is that correct?
Right. The plaza itself is about 10 years old, and the reason that one section, middle section, is in such disrepair because of 2 reasons. One, we used a calcium chloride salt compound to melt the ice, and the second thing is we ran our sidewalk plow over that heavily traveled section. Those are 2 things we're not going to do anymore. So it'll certainly last more than 4 or 5 years. It's gone 10 years, even with that kind of heavy work on it. So what we do is going to last at least as long as what it has already.
Anybody else? All right, we'll take a roll call, please.
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counsel Olivera?
Flavia,
Flavia?
is she frozen?
She's frozen.
She looks frozen.
She's not even blinking.
Or she's very still.
Or she's asleep.
She froze in the middle of a text, too.
Oh, she's coming back now. Maybe.
That's an even worse.
Now she's face first on the keyboard.
That's how I feel.
Okay.
There she is.
Hey.
Maybe.
Flavia?
Now you need to unmute yourself.
Oh, hang on. Hang on.
Don't waste all the good.
Yeah, sorry.
All right.
I lost connection.
We're voting on Resolution 197. What is your vote?
Yes, yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
No.
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 5 in favor and 1 opposed.
Okay, next is Order 198, 2020.
An order providing for sale of city property, Airport Road.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing as none, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes,
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
All right. Next is Resolution 199, 2020.
A resolution providing for bid award for a municipal fire alarm.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And discussion. See, the chief is here. I don't know. To add anything here?
No, number one, I want to thank my staff for participating in the bid process. It was quite a long one and very complicated, and we sifted through 30 pages of material to get down to the pricing. But we also visited the city of Scarborough, which has recently installed one of these systems, and determined that it met the needs of the city of Waterville. So I appreciate my staff and their effort putting this together. The additional money will simply be utilized to purchase additional boxes throughout the city so that we can continue to build our network. And because it's wireless, The more boxes you have in your system, the more strength your system has.
So I saw a couple of your guys, it looked like there was a bucket truck with some power lines. Is that what they were doing?
So right now, we're repairing our existing system.
Okay, I wasn't
And
sure.
our existing system has been in service since 1890s, and it is in serious decay, and it is very problematic. So every single day, we're calling people in on overtime to repair our current system. And this bid, because it came in lower than we thought and gave us a little extra money to invest in boxes, will actually allow us to almost totally replace the system.
Oh, it's
So
outstanding.
we're looking at really a cost savings mechanism in the future, specific to overtime and materials and labor, of course. And then this gives us the opportunity, which we've never had before, of monitoring security alarms as well, and creating a system to generate revenue, which has never been done with the city's municipal fire alarm system before. So I think over time, we can certainly pay for the maintenance and hopefully the entirety of the system.
It's great. A lot of good things going on over there. Any other comments, discussion? We'll take a roll call, please.
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes,
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Next is Resolution 200, 2020.
A resolution providing for extension of outdoor dining, the Lion's Den.
Move to adopt.
And second.
Okay, and open for discussion on the council level. Councilor Thomas?
I think the main concern here is that we make sure that we provide adequate time for the public to offer input on this resolution. I've certainly heard some concerns from people, and I'm not sure entirely who is and is not aware that this is on the floor at the moment. I guess that's my main concern, and I'm hoping we can at least have a discussion tonight before we get to the point of discussing whether we want to table this or not. But I just want to make sure that we're making sure that all of the neighbors and anyone who may be affected by this action is aware of what we're voting on this evening.
I do too. I feel like this discussion has been going on for meeting after meeting. I think, what is this, the third or fourth time, which has been a month and a half at least that we've been talking about this. At what point is it enough or not enough? And I guess if there's people who have an issue, it would be great to get that forward as soon as we can. Because it almost feels like we have people who are coming in with ideas, they want to invest and they want to do stuff, and we're saying basically every time they come, oh, we're going to wait a little bit more for more input. We don't get any more input. Meanwhile, it's like we either need to hear other ideas and have these other ideas come forward or not, but we have to have some kind of deadline here, because I understand the issue of fairness and I want to be fair, but at some point it becomes unfair to the people who are have already invested and would like to invest more if we just keep kicking the can down the road without ever actually coming to some sort of conclusion and seeing what other people want to do. Like, I know in the spring, others were offered space in that park, and they said they didn't want it. Whether it was too far to walk or whatever, there were others who said they didn't want it, so the Lions ended up taking space, made it beautiful for the first time in the last 20 years, and I think still want to do some stuff there, but we need to have some kind of end date here. I'm okay with discussion, but it can't just be the next 3 months we're coming at every meeting saying we're not sure who knows about it. So, Councilor Mayhew?
Yeah, I agree with the mayor on this. And I said it before, this being in my wheelhouse, obviously from a hospitality standpoint, extension of outdoor dining during the COVID-19 pandemic is very critical to the sustainability of all hospitality institutions. I think the city of Waterville has come forward and the council has come forward, and I commend this council above and beyond for what it has done outside of the state heavy state regulations in the beginning and in the mid of the storm of this pandemic. This industry was the most hit. It took a major blows, and I can say that from my perspective, and certainly even more so for the small business hospitality institutions that are in our downtown and even in the outlying peripheral zones. With dining rooms closed and takeout only, and very limited resources to go by to make a living on, and employees being laid off, outside dining has to be something that we support as a group to keep these businesses in a sustainable position. And because several businesses come up with creative and innovative ideas, we certainly need to have a deadline on these proposals, because hospitality businesses, I'll be blunt and honest with you, are very fragile. They don't have the essence of time, and they need to have decisions, and they need to have investments in play to make these things happen. And delaying and having tactics of let's wait and hear from several other people, it doesn't do any justice for these small businesses to survive. I can say that because I have experience in it. And time is of the essence with this type of industry, so I just want to put that out there.
Anybody else in the council? Councilor Frankie.
Well, I'd like to preface my remarks by saying that Jennifer Bergeron should be applauded for having the vision to want to improve downtown and the concourse. Nevertheless, the way that things have happened, the piecemeal through one little piece after another for the pandemic reasons, is not a justification for the usurpation of city land without paying rent, without paying utilities, and only in favor of one downtown business and not all of the downtown businesses. I'm going to oppose this. I think Councilor Thomas's idea to put it off a little bit, to table it and discuss it more fully at the next meeting is a good idea. But I'm opposed to special treatment. We have to be fair to all of the businesses, whether they're at downtown, peripheral, whatever business they're in. We have to be fair to everybody.
I agree, and I think that I've advocated pretty strongly at every meeting that I'm willing to have the city really bend over backwards for any of our downtown businesses, restaurants or otherwise, if they have ideas and how we can expand their footprint, whether it's taking up parking spots. I know I've inquired on the street. One thing we'll talk about later in the meeting, hopefully, is the sidewalks on Main Street as part of the downtown project. I wanted to bring that up tonight towards the end of the meeting under discussion items to make sure that the people on Main Street are getting equal treatment when it comes to sidewalk width and their ability to have outdoor dining. And again, waiting is, having more discussions, fine. I just think there needs to be some kind of finality to this, because being fair doesn't mean just saying no to. I don't know how it's unfair if we only have some people coming forward with ideas and they pitch them 3 or 4 meetings in a row, and we keep telling them we'll talk about it the next meeting. At some point, what's fair is coming to a conclusion and saying, does anybody else want use for that? We obviously need to discuss some kind of lease at some point, because at some point it can't be free forever. To your point, Councilor Frankie, but so fairness is a two-way street on this one. I just think we need some kind of finality, and if others aren't coming up with ideas and asking for that exact specific space, then when do we wrap up the conversation? I think that's something that you guys need to decide. Councilor Frankie?
My point being that we allowed these changes due to the pandemic and adjustments to make it easier for businesses to survive. What is before us now is a long-term change and a permanent change in the operations of the way the concourse is laid out. We're going to have to reconsider the way the concourse is laid out eventually, and so I think it's simply premature for us to move ahead with this at this point.
Well, and we'll hear from Jennifer, and so I don't want to belabor this too much until we get the actual people, and I know we have some other people on the other side, some other restaurant owners downtown who are here to speak on this tonight. But what's before us specifically right now, at least as is without any amendments, is to be in that park until April 1, 2021. So unless somebody else is setting up an ice rink out there, I don't see, I don't know who else wants it for the winter time.
I would like to hear from the restaurant owners before I put my piece of information out there.
Councilor Thomas?
I just want to be clear, and Mike, you can confirm this for me. The outdoor dining on Silver Street, even the part that's on the sidewalk, is city property. That property does not belong to those restaurants, right? And we let them use it rent-free.
City property.
City property.
And that was built like that. I mean, right. They're the only restaurants in town that we built that space for.
And pretty much
We shut the street
anyone who puts tables out on the street is using city property. The only patio downtown that is not city property, I believe, is the Mainly Brews
Correct.
patio, or perhaps the Proper Pig,
Proper
Pig's
Pig,
back
right.
patio.
And the back patio, yes.
Right.
All right, well, why don't we let these folks come in? And if we could start with the folks from the Lion's Den, probably. Hi.
Hello. Hello. All right, so I'll start by saying we ended the last meeting with me saying, hey, I can't go to the state unless I have something from you guys. And I was told by this council, you have our full support. And then, I don't know, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, I get an email from the city manager saying, hey, you know, you have this park right now, that doesn't mean you'll always have the park. And then I see emails that are signed by, it was an email from one restaurant owner, but he spoke for many others, and said, oh, it's the first we're hearing about it. But my first email to you guys on this was July 22nd, okay? This is the third meeting. This isn't a surprise to anybody that we want that park. I'm not talking about building a permanent building in the park, and you guys are eventually gonna rip that park down. And honestly, I think it's a stretch to even call it a park. What was it before I took it over? It was a little patch of land that was used as an ashtray by people who were just on smoke break. I mean, all it was cigarette butts. I think you can all agree. Nobody maintained it. Nobody mowed it. Nobody did anything with it. In 2018, I said, you know what? I've got a restaurant. I want outside dining. You Know Who's Pub hadn't had outside dining in, I don't know how long that place has been open, like 50 years. So I don't know how long Kevin's had it, probably, 25, 30? They've never had outside dining before 2018 because I said, hey, let me do all the work. Like, I'll do the heavy lifting. I'll design this thing. I will get it built. All you have to do is show up. And that's what they did. They just showed up. So this year, I said, all right, let's do it again. And he said, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I'm not sure. So I came to you guys and said, well, I'm not sure what he wants to do, but I'd like to get approval. You guys approved it. Then he said, oh, I'm so sorry to everyone else downtown, and said, oh, I didn't go to the council with that. And I said, geez, I don't want to be a bad neighbor. You know, if he's apologizing to the whole street, maybe people don't want us there. So I'm going to try the park. And 2 years prior, You Know Whose Pub wanted nothing to do with the park. Once again, I tried contacting him. He wanted nothing to do with the park. I called my liquor inspector, who said, you can't go in the park. That's illegal. You have to cross a road. He said, you'd have to get the laws changed in order for that to happen. So guess what I did? I changed the laws. You know, I went to the state and I said, we need this space. Let us cross the street. And we got the approval to cross the street. I said to you 2 weeks ago, look, I need to go back to them and say, give me more time. And you guys all said we support that. In the last month, who has come to you and asked for something else in the park? Who has had another idea? You know, I feel like it's the little red hen where the hen says, hey, I've got corn, who wants to help me plant it? And everyone says, oh, I'm too busy, no. And then the hen says, okay, the corn's growing up, I've got to harvest it. Who wants to help me harvest it? And everyone says, oh, too busy, no. And then they say, oh, I've got to make it into flour. Who wants to help? No, too busy, no. And then he says, all right, well, guess what? I made bread. And everyone says, yeah, I'll have some bread. And he says, no. Well, we did all the work. We've done it all. And now everyone's coming to you saying, oh, wait, we didn't know. This is a total shock and surprise. It's not a shock and surprise. We've been here at the last 2 meetings. This is the 3rd meeting. This is not a surprise to anyone. Everyone has had time to say, you know what? I have another use for the park. I'd like to have the opportunity. We have another park in town that's actually a park. If people have ideas, maybe they could say, hey, we want to have a concert. We'd love this. We want downtown to be a thriving place. We want more business downtown. We want people down there everywhere. I don't care which restaurant they're at. I mean, obviously I want them at mine, but I want them at all of the restaurants. I want us all filled. I want Waterville to thrive. But we're the only ones that have come to you with any idea for this park. And we put in the work, and now you keep pushing us off. You know, we're opening another restaurant in this town. I ordered tables 2 months ago. I'm gonna open with rented tables because I can't get them. You're telling me I have to wait another 2 weeks to start my plans. And who knows, maybe beyond that. Like, we need to have time to plan if we're gonna do anything outside dining for winter. And then if I'm gonna spend the money on that, I don't want it to be for this winter. That's correct. I would like to say, you know what, we've got the support of the city. We want to use this park. Eventually, you guys are gonna tear it up. You know, I am in full belief the concourse is going to be redesigned. It's on the agenda. We need to all talk about that. Everyone should have input on that. But the park as is, everybody's ignored it for however many years it's been there. Since 2013, I think, if I remember correctly, it has been abandoned and nobody has requested it. I'll stop talking.
Well, I'm a little concerned because I don't know that Councilor Frankie was listening to any of that, and I hope he was.
Yes, I heard every word, and as I said before, I applaud Ms. Bergeron for her vision of the future. However, it's fairness of the moment that is my concern. And just because she was the one who wanted to occupy the park doesn't mean that it wasn't that she was the only one entitled to it.
Well, I don't know that there's one person in this room who can disagree with anything that was just said or refute any of it. I mean, we have had emails since July. Most, I don't think any of them were actually answered by anybody. And yeah, fairness means this comes to a conclusion when we have people coming with ideas. If somebody else wants to use that park, then they need to step forward or step aside. That's at the end of the day. And I was a little disappointed because I know it seemed like, you know, Mike, I thought you were going to have a conversation. You had said to me the other day you were going to make a phone call and have a conversation with Jen, and because we were trying to figure out how this was going to work. and then kind of these emails just went out, and I think that kind of, unfortunately, is what keeps getting us into these positions where nobody deals with something and kind of this email goes out and then everyone shows up. And I don't think anyone here can say, regardless of what the council does tonight, nobody can say that we haven't had time to deliberate on this in the extension of the outdoor dining here for this park. Nobody can say that. Councilor?
Is Kevin Joseph here? Is he in the other room? Does anyone know?
I'm not sure.
No.
Well, I just want, so I'm going to read you his email just so you know what he said. He's writing to express his concern. He said, to provide a brief background, the original plan for both Lion's Den and my establishment, You Know Who's Pub, was for use of the road on which we would erect a shared deck as we did last summer, 2019 with Italia. I learned via the city council meeting that we were given permission to use Haynes Park space. I was under the impression that the Haynes space would be divided down the middle, allowing access to road frontage by both of our establishments. That was not the case. I was told that the pub would occupy the back area of the park with no frontage, and the den would have the front. This was a huge concern and not acceptable to me. That said, and in no way asking for special exceptions, my concerns and questions are regarding the actual process for accessing public space for outdoor dining. What steps are involved and how are decisions made by the council regarding use of public space? If space is allocated to more than one establishment, what process is in place for dividing the space equitably? Which, as I recall, there was never any, it was really just, can we both use the space? There was never discussion about who would get what in the space.
I can answer that when you're done.
Yeah. Going forward, if extension of outdoor dining is being considered beyond the current time frame, is it the same process that will ample notice be given to all area restaurants in order to allow them the same opportunity and access? With Haynes Park, are all restaurants in the vicinity being considered to use the space? Are permanent structures, walls, roofs allowed on public space to accommodate winter weather? Are restaurants on Main Street that do not currently have outdoor dining being considered for other arrangements in order to make up for their lack of space? And then just to summarize the end, it's not, his main concern is that there's a fair process for all downtown restaurants, and he wants everyone to be successful. And so that was the email that we got from Kevin.
I would love to answer that. So I did come to the city council and requested that the pub and our restaurant, Lion's Den, get to share the patio that we had prior years. I got approval for that. Mr. Joseph, who owns the pub, went and apologized to every business on our street saying, I'm sorry, this had nothing to do with me. I said I hadn't made up my mind. I didn't go to city council. This had nothing to do with me. I said, well, this makes me look really bad. Like, I don't want to be a bad neighbor. This is terrible. So I said, I've got to come up with another idea. I tried to contact Kevin, who always said, I'm too busy to talk, maybe next Wednesday. I said, Kevin, we're on the agenda for Tuesday. I had to get from the state an area that I wanted. I had told Kevin all of this. He was too busy to talk to me because his bar couldn't open for a long time. We as a restaurant could. So he was too busy. When I had to be here in front of you to get permission to build the structure, I had to move. And I'm sorry, I can't wait for somebody who is too busy. I have a business, I have kids, I have a family, you know, I need to have income to pay my bills. Like, it's not, I wasn't gonna wait for him. So when I got approval, I had to have gone to the state and Bablo saying, this is the section. Kevin had already said, I don't want the park. I had suggested the park, he had said no. I said, okay, well, we have approval for the patio. He can have the patio, I'll have the park. That's exactly what's happened. He has the patio, I have the park. He didn't want the park. He was offered the park, wanted nothing to do with the park. So it wasn't divided down the center until after I had approval. I had come to you guys with a map saying this is the section of park I want. Because he didn't want the park. I can't be more clear. He didn't want it. And he told some of you, very specifically, he didn't want the park. So I can't see him saying now, oh, I wasn't told, I wasn't asked, because that is untrue. So I asked for the front part of the park. He said to me after that was approved, oh, if you're gonna have the park, I want it side by side. I said, that's gonna delay me 2 more weeks. I don't have 2 weeks. It's COVID. We were only doing takeout. We needed to get this business going. Like, there's no delaying. I am sorry that some people are just not willing to make fast decisions. But I came to you guys because my business, our business, was in peril. We had to get open. He had a choice. He had the opportunity, and he said no to it. So I wish he was here. Maybe he is. He can answer to that, because I have text messages between him with me saying, I need to talk to you. We've got to talk about this, and him saying, I don't have time. So I'm sorry. He didn't have time.
Just to be clear, it's your thing that he didn't want the park, right?
I think he told several of you. He did not want the park.
I'm just making sure that, you know, Amy, I make sure you got that. I'm just making sure
I have to say that email
that's what you
to
said.
me is shocking, because he did not want the park.
Okay.
Well, we brought something that everybody now
walking
wants
away
to
with
buy.
one thing
They want to do something with it.
Right.
Well, I think that's been kind of my point, is that I want to see if people want to stop you from doing something, then they need to come in with a plan.
They just, right, that's how I feel.
Like,
I
not
read
just say, well, we want to do something, we might want to do something sometime. If you want to do something, come and show us your plan. I'm sure everybody here is reasonable and willing to be equitable if there's a plan, but if there's no plan, then we're just kicking it down the road for no reason.
And if we
I
have
agree.
COVID
I
next
agree.
year, and there's the 6-foot social distancing spacing, dividing the park, the 2 long rectangles, gives you almost no seating compared to what we have now. And we turned that second part of the park into, you know, it's cornhole and it's other things. We didn't put dining there. We didn't extend the dining. We said, nobody else is using the park. Nobody wants it. It is a blight, and we wanted it to be nice. Like, it looks great now.
You want to hear from Charlie?
Yep.
All right, we'll have Charlie come up to the mic.
Did Erica have something to say?
Oh, Erica, did you have something more? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. I didn't think I was cutting anyone off. So.
Well, I'm sure Kevin wishes he was here tonight to refute some of what he's told me in terms of the interaction over here. And, you know, I was around when Colby was trying to negotiate this $300,000 parcel that now houses the residence hall on Main Street, took a piece of the concourse. There was way more public discussion going on with that. And I don't understand the rush to judgment here in terms of, like, why does a decision need to be made now? You know, I mean, the decision to utilize that park, fine. The decision to put metal structures on there that are going to include a metal roof and walls, then basically you kind of box, you know, we're getting boxed into a long-term decision and a short-term process, you know, so I just don't understand why there needs to be a yes or no vote tonight without any public discussion regarding the situation. And
Well, I guess that's my point, Charlie, is I think, to be fair to them, though, they have been in here, and that's been my message to these guys tonight is, guys,
Hey,
they've come in.
the first mention of a metal structure and a metal roof and walls happened 2 weeks ago.
I don't believe they're looking to keep a metal structure up.
How do you put up metal structure that's going to have walls, and then you're going to have a concrete base to it? I mean, the park is going to disappear forever. I'm looking at the concourse plan, okay, where that's the only really green space left in the redesign plan that will probably, you know, go out, that will probably transpire within a couple of years, you know. So I think we're locking ourselves into a particular thing. You know, I mean, my stake in this is parking, okay? So now if we, you know, because we're losing 97 spaces between the angle parking on Main Street and what we lost with the Kobe building, and then now we're talking about extending the sidewalk out, turning the park into another full-time, you know, basically a full-time structured restaurant. And then, so how many spaces are going to be lost? You know, I mean, the parking committee is grappling with that right now in terms of the 24 feet out, where everybody gets a shot. on that side, you know, and then I also think that the Main Street side, the east side of Main Street, has been kind of left out of the equation because of the shallowness of that parking lot. You know, so to create some kind of equitable arrangement for all the restaurants to participate in some extended seating in the event that 6-foot spacing continues to be the guidance, or to have them have seating. So why would we lock ourselves into one without having an overall plan for everything? I just don't understand the rush to that. And there really hasn't been any public. I mean, I remember the public dynamic of deciding whether to give up the 70 spaces that we gave up when we sold to Kobe. Nothing like that has happened here. So you need a yes vote tonight. Is it critical that that happens tonight without further public discussion? I don't think so.
Well, my point was whether it happens tonight or on another night, we need some kind of end date, because these folks have been bringing in questions and asking for support, and this place, this park was a total dump. I've complained to Mike for 6 years about what a dump it was and why we couldn't get Public Works over there to pick weeds or something, because it was just literally...
Okay, well, to me that sounds like a Public Works problem.
Well, it
okay,
is.
I mean, that doesn't...
my point,
because somebody's not weeding the garden doesn't mean you put a building up on the garden.
Okay, can we get Jennifer in here? Because my understanding is a roof was for winter activity. I don't think they were looking to have next summer.
I concur with that. My understanding is a metal roof only, not walls. I'm going to ask the same question.
If you listen to the council meeting, walls were mentioned after the roof. Okay,
Okay,
so
but that's my recollection, was just a metal
There are
roof.
walls, there are walls now, like, there's a structure.
no
that you
walls. Hey, let's face it. When it gets down to 10 below zero or 0 degrees or 10 above, you're not going to have open air dining out there. It's
Well, I don't think people, my conversations with them, and I could be wrong and they'll correct me if I am, the conversations I have been acknowledging that people probably aren't going to sit out there and have a meal because it's going to get cold, but potentially there could be like drinks and appetizers or some little things here and there to try to keep business and entertainment going. I don't think there's an idea that in the middle of January, at least from my understanding.
when it went down below 60 degrees last week, okay, I had nobody on my patio. All right, Mainers are tough, but they're not. They're wusses.
You got a patio. That's ours. We built it for you.
You did?
Right.
Oh, gee, thank you, Nick.
That's my point. I'm going to be talking later about the Main Street because there's an issue with the sidewalks there, and you're right. It needs to be equitable to all. But if people want the park, like that conversation needs to happen. But
It just seems like a park grab. That's what it seems like to me. Did all the other restaurants on the backside of the concourse participate in this discussion? Kevin's story is different from what I'm hearing from Jen. So, aside from Kevin's email that was sent today, I don't think that he's participated in this. So,
I talked to him more than once, and I heard a few different things, but I'd rather let him speak for himself. So,
yeah, great.
I think what I'd like to say is I don't think it's beyond the pale that the council should expect to see some sort of rendering of what it is Jennifer plans to do with the park before we say.
Excuse me, I can't hear you.
We should see a rendering. What exactly is she planning?
What's the plan?
And then the other thing is, I brought this up when we extended the dining on Silver Street, that there are other restaurants on Main Street who don't have a space where we can give them. And so we were giving an advantage to restaurants that already had an advantage over them. But I'll also tell you, I spoke with the owner of Mainly Brews, I spoke with the owner of Portland Pie, I spoke with, OPA had TJ Tavares call me, and I told all of them, if you have an idea for how to gobble up some space for outdoor dining, bring it to the council, and none of them did. So I can't vote on a plan that's not in front of me.
I understand what you're saying.
And so, and Jennifer and Erica have, they took initiative and did something, and I understand now people are looking at what they did and probably thinking, well, man, I wish I had done that. And so, yes, I do think they deserve some certainty soon. I don't think it has to be tonight. After we finish this discussion, I'm going to make a motion to table. We'll see where that goes. I would like to see some sort of a drawing of, so people know what it is they plan to do. In terms of long-term, I think there's a 0% chance that the state is going to change the laws so that they can long-term be carrying alcohol across the road. They've given them a waiver through this, but I think once this emergency is over, the law is probably going to go back to where they won't be able to use the space for what they're using it for anyway. And this only commits us until April
20.
at this point, and then we'll have to make another decision then.
Right. Well, I agree with what you're saying. You know, a rendering, what's going to happen, and specifically, you know, my horse in the race is parking. We're losing all the angled parking on Main Street. You know, they're developing the Arts Building, which used to be the Waterville Hardware, so that parking is going to be private and disappear. And we're losing park. Then we've lost the Kobe parking. You know, we lost 100 spaces of parking. Okay, so I think my customers are going to be probably parking in the concourse because there's going to be very little parking on Main Street. You know, and then we're talking about extending sidewalks. Then we're talking about the logistics of deliveries. If we extend the sidewalk so much that we're going to have one-way traffic only, you know, how does that work? I mean, I just think that this is a piece in a very large picture, and I think that to rush to especially erect buildings in a park that could otherwise be converted into something else, which I hope it stays green space, you know, but I don't think we have an overall plan.
The plan we approved, which isn't the final plan, was that space is going to be turned into parking. Just so you know, it's not going to be, it was not to be green space, it was to be parking.
Okay,
And I believe
that
the
doesn't.
plan that we approved was like the smallest amount of, you know, additional spaces that we could have put in there, which, you know, if your concern is parking, then the parking committee put together a plan that gave us the least amount of spaces that we could have put in there and didn't maximize the space to begin with. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I was never a fan of the initial, you know, plan that went through the council before, you know, for the approval to get some bids and whatnot. But, you know, like, I think now this has given us pause to say, okay, well, you know what, the plan that we approved last time, and now with the things that we've got going on in the industry, you know, now do we have an ability now to take a look at this and maybe eliminate the road altogether and, you know, maybe extend the space along the back side of the concourse and move the parking back and give ample opportunities for everybody now to do this. I mean, everything's on the table now, I think, at this point, Charlie, and I think, you know, like, this just started it. I mean, I think this process started it, and if we're going to talk about, you know, parking and structures and, you know, things of that nature, then I think the whole concourse just needs to be talked about again.
Well, there is a concourse plan, but the plan that I'm looking at that I believe was proposed still retains that green space.
Does.
Right?
Yeah, I was
It
on the
does.
parking committee. It does retain that green
It
space.
retains that same green space, which is now the park.
I don't believe so.
I don't believe so
The one that
I think it
the one that
does.
was
Or I think it
approved,
narrows
which
it
is
at
not
least.
what will be final.
No.
There will now be parking from both
Totally gone.
sides.
Yeah.
The park will be eliminated, and then you'd be parking cars facing each other there.
I don't know.
But that's not-
I'd appreciate a copy of that final rendering because the
But
one I'm
that's-
looking at retains a green
Yeah,
space.
for the record, in no way is that final, because
Right.
by the time
No.
there's going to be so many more discussions before we get to actually doing that project that I think it's going to change, especially with all the stuff that's going on.
Actually, the last discussion we had with the parking committee was about how basically at this point, we don't have the funds for it anyway, so at this point, the whole conversation is fluid and is probably going to remain fluid.
Right.
Well, that's fine. That's fine until you start putting buildings up, and then all of a sudden now the options become fewer with structures in the park.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
Can I have Erica and Jen in here just for a quick second? Simply, Erica, are you going to add
Okay.
any more structure to the walls of that?
So
or
when
you
we
just put a roof
blurted,
on it?
or I mentioned it, it was just a quick idea
Yeah.
of, like Charlie said, when it gets cold, his patio is all closed up. Well, let me tell you, mine was not last week.
Right.
We found a way to keep people out there, and it was still just as busy. So in the winter time, we're not talking about a permanent fixture. He went way fast forward in my mind. He's concerned with the remodel of the park, which has nothing to do with us. We've already been told that eventually we're utilizing this. It's not permanent to us. We never felt entitled. We're very grateful to even have the little bit of time that we've had there. Even if we don't get to extend it, we want to thank you. It's helped our business. It's helped keep our employees employed. It's let the community come together.
Are you going to add 4 walls to that and put a roof on it? As it sits right now?
We have not made any plans.
Okay.
So I cannot tell you,
last-
I cannot tell you yes, because we honestly,
And to be fair to Charlie, last time you guys were here, we were talking roof.
well,
That's
I said.
the way I remember it.
Right, I said we could put some type of roof, maybe a metal one, light it all up, make it full of lights, bring people down in the winter. I said, so it's not so full of snow, dark and dreary, where all the other restaurants are just closed up tight because everybody's freezing. We'll find a way to keep that lit up like we have it lit up now at nighttime.
Okay,
So
to-
what's before us tonight, just, I think it's important, is that we authorize the extension to the outdoor dining permit for the Lion's Den in the park till April 1, which is what we told them with confidence last time they were here. We were specifically speaking about. They're going to pay a fee for the additional extended license, and no permanent structures be erected on the site. That's what
It would, right, we wasn't
that-
intending
that-
permanent.
That's what we're voting on tonight. So
Yeah.
there's been a lot of talk about
Yeah.
other stuff, and I think it's important to come back to about what we're actually voting on versus what some of these other ideas that are just not relevant to what's in front of us tonight, and what we're asking to be voted on.
Yeah, and I don't.
We're just asking, if we are going to extend the outdoor dining through the winter.
Right.
Which,
And that specifies no
by the
permanent.
sounds of it, none of the other local businesses are interested in doing anything in the winter. We weren't asking to have this for the next
and
4
I
years.
can concur with that statement.
And we told them last time they were here, yeah, go talk to the state. We'll bring this back, but you can tell the state, like, we support this idea. It specifies no permanent structures. It's to April 1. It's an extension of an outdoor permit until the spring.
We do have, fencing, walls,
Right.
whatever you want to call it now, but nothing is permanent. We planned on taking it down November 1st until we came up with this idea, and resuming the park back to the way that we found it.
Yeah. I think these, unless somebody else wants outdoor dining, because actually I had suggested we just extend outdoor dining to everybody that wanted it, and I was told nobody did, so these are the only people
Right.
who want the permit, so we're just gonna vote on a permit for them. That's how we got to this point.
Correct.
Right.
Mayor, I think we do have one more individual outside.
Okay, yeah, let's.
I don't know that, but I think there's one more. out there.
Anybody else that wants to comment on this can comment?
No?
And
Okay.
Charlie, if you want to add.
Yeah.
Does that help?
I'm just saying, does what help?
Knowing that what we're voting on tonight specifies no permanent structures, it's merely an extended dining permit.
It's better, but I think that if that privilege is being given to them, I think blanket-wise, anybody who got extended dining privileges as a result of COVID-19 should be included in that. It's like, why not make it blanket? Why are we spot zoning here?
That's what
You know?
I asked for, Charlie. Charlie, just so you know, that's what I had suggested. And I was told, nobody else wants it, we're just putting it on here for them.
Well, I don't think there's really been that much public discussion about this, and
Well,
that's,
if we had just done a blanket thing, then anybody who wanted to extend their
again,
outdoor
there hasn't been enough public discussion for me to agree with you or disagree with you.
yeah, I mean, you were here the last time and mocked the idea that we would, so I don't know what to say.
I don't know how I mocked it, but
Mayor?
Yes.
Charlie, you and I did have a discussion about that. And you and I talked about you taking it off the street. You even showed me you downstairs, right?
yeah.
And that was, and I went around to each other business that was affected and given them extra space. And everybody has agreed. I'm not arguing.
No,
against public
and I'm not
discussion.
arguing with you,
What I'm
but
saying is that
the-
I went to each individual business owner and said, hey, what do you think? What's your timetable for closing up? And everybody kind of said the same thing, except for Jen and Erica. They wanted to extend out through the winter. So that's what I know, because I went to each of you and said, hey, what's your season look like? And everybody said, we're rolling up the sidewalks in October-ish, and that was it.
Let me clarify that in that discussion, I was saying, I really don't want the street through the winter, okay?
Okay.
But I have a patio
Okay.
interior to the street, okay, that's more closely adjacent to my building.
Okay.
You know, so,
So if we open this up for all outside dining for you to keep it onto the sidewalk, you would be
keep it
okay
onto
with
the
that?
traditional patio thing,
Right.
that I might have that option.
Through
I
to
might take
April
advantage
1st.
of it, I might not take advantage of it.
And then on April 1st, we come back and we discuss the bigger, by the time April 1st
The bigger
rolls
picture.
around, we come back to a
Right.
bigger discussion.
Sure.
Patty, just clarification, we extended this once, right? So they're already allowed to have outdoor dining until, was it November 1st?
November.
November 1st, they all expire November 1st.
Okay.
Nick?
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe I missed something and you've already discussed this, but I just have a question. If somebody gets hurt on the city property, who's liable for that? Or does the business insurance take care of it?
We require a certificate of liability insurance for those outdoor dining vendors
And they all
to
have
hold the
that?
city as additionally insured.
So they all have that?
Yes.
Right, because the same issues exist even on Charlie's patio that would exist with the Lion's Den's patio. Claude's gets.
Oh, Counselor Frankie.
And does that liability insurance include walking across the public street?
I'm not 100% sure about that.
So the city might be liable for somebody slipping on the ice on the street and breaking their neck.
I don't know any more so than they would be if they were just walking on the street normally.
Stop people from walking.
I don't know.
Do we just want to extend this option to everybody? I mean, that was what I originally suggested last time we were here.
And offer the extension and amendment.
So are we going to amend it to include all outdoor
Yes.
dining?
Yes,
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Again, I'm in full support of extending this to everyone. Do we run into any issues, with, Bill down at the Proper Pig where he's in the street from a Public Works plowing, like winter thing? If he's going to have his thing out there, do we run into any issues there? Can we plow around it, I guess?
I think that's a separate issue because what we're extending is the ability to have
have it,
outdoor
whether or not. Okay,
dining.
fair enough.
Right.
Perfect.
I think, for example, if they want to continue to use the street at Silver Street, they have to come back to us and ask again.
Right, because if I remember right, we had a special one to block that street up, if I remember right.
So we might need more. We could probably have a separate resolution next week that covers.
Each one almost needs to be handled somewhat individually because
yeah.
everyone has a little different scenario. Some folks
Sure.
are strictly on the sidewalk. Some folks are extended into the street. Some folks are in the park. And some folks are in the city parking area on Common Street. So there are so many different scenarios, and I would feel more comfortable if we could talk with the Public Works Director about what safety issues, snow removal issues.
And also for the record, Patty, our jurisdiction is only over things that happen on public property, right? If
Correct.
somebody has a patio on private property, they can have outdoor dining all winter long
Correct.
if they want.
It's just on city property, correct.
Right.
Which really impacts the downtown dining where the buildings are really just the footprint of the lot, basically.
So it sounds like we should vote on this and then the rest is a separate issue.
Yeah.
So unless there's more discussion, is there any more discussion?
Well, we can amend this to include all, right? We can,
No, it sounds like we should.
well,
deal
the
with that.
ability to have outdoor dining,
You
whether or
could
not
add
what
an
that
amendment that
situation is.
says,
That's the individuality, right?
You could say, be it further resolved that all other.
Like we have something now through November for everyone, right? Like, why can't we just extend that one
The
through
current
April 1st?
ordinance, as it's written, allows for outdoor dining on city right-of-way from April 1st to November 1st for a $100 fee, and they need to allow for a 3-foot pedestrian walkway. So that's the current ordinance. Then we extended, because of COVID, we allowed for these kind of variances and extended the outdoor dining. So these are really, we're talking about outdoor dining extensions, where they went into the park, or they went into the street, or they went into the concourse parking area, or part of Common Street parking. So
I think we should let any other businesses that want to be considered come back with their own requests.
Yeah, and I think it's important that other business owners know that what we're voting on tonight is an extension to April 1. It's no permanent things.
Right.
And people that want to come out in the spring can come bring plans, and I won't be here, but I assume the people that are going to work to be fair and equitable and try to realize people's plans. And I think someone made the point too. I don't think at some point the state's not going to probably permanently change their laws about
Right,
crossing
'cause it
the street.
affects so many other
about
businesses.
crossing the street. So I mean, I think at some point this will be moved as well.
Yep.
Claude's got something.
Councilor Frankie.
Well, I think one of Kevin Joseph's big objections is that we don't have a plan and a procedure for dealing with these things. And clearly, the pandemic has altered the way we look at a lot of things. What I would note is that we have a planning board that deals with all of requests about private properties. It seems to me that we ought to at least have something similar to deal with things that we're doing with public property, particularly if we're letting private businesses or persons use public property for commercial purposes. So I would suggest that we really ought to think about putting together some plan, some system for us to deal with these things, rather than arguing about it at every council meeting.
I tend to agree with that, except that it adds another layer of did they amend the charter so that things don't have to, the city council doesn't have to refer things to the planning board? We had that discussion, right? So that things would just go to the planning board and then come to us?
I don't recall 100%.
Because that's my concern, is that now you're like, we have to have a meeting, then the planning board has to have a meeting, and then it has to come back to us, and I don't want to add another layer of headache for people when the city council is going to ultimately make the decision anyway. But just to bring some clarity to this, I'm going to make a motion to table. We'll see where this goes, if anyone seconds and what the vote is. I'm going to make a motion to table until next week, just so that until the next regular council meeting, with the idea that we'll make a decision then definitively, just in the interest of making sure that everyone has had a chance to give input on this issue, because it doesn't sound like there's unanimity amongst the business community that this should be. There is opposition, so I'd rather err on the side of giving people a chance to speak on it. They've already been extended to November 1st. I mean, I don't think waiting 2 more weeks is too much to ask in order to make sure that everyone's had a chance to give input. So I don't know if there's a second to that or not.
Second.
Yeah, I just think that the input should be cogent to what we're actually voting on, and not, we don't need input about things that aren't actually happening. The input that should be considered is input about what's literally in front of us and written on paper. I think that's the important part, because the what ifs and this and that, and what if this is like, this is what's in front of us. It's an extension of outdoor dining until April with no permanent structures. That's what we want input on, and if somebody has an objection, we want to hear why you have an objection to that specific item.
Mayor, do we have two amendments on the floor?
No.
No.
Didn't we just?
I don't know that there was a second. There was discussion about including all for outdoor dining permits, but I'm not sure that there
I
was a
think
second.
we ended on dealing with them individually.
Yeah.
So there wasn't.
So, is there any discussion on the vote to table this until the next meeting?
I don't think that, if I'm voting on what's in front of me, I don't know that there's anything else that is going to change that. I guess I don't understand why we need to table this or hear. No, I guess not. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I tend to agree. I think that's why it was like, I need to make sure, we need to make sure it's about what's in front of us.
Yeah.
And that we're not straying, because I don't, does somebody else want the park between now and April 1? Flavia?
So I have Okay, so I have a question. So she plans to utilize the place until April 1st, but what is the actual plan? What is she's gonna utilize this space for? Like, because I would really like to see like if she's gonna integrate the community, there's gonna be a night like the community can go down. Because I feel like it needs to be really inclusive, and right now I'm like a little puzzled that it's not. So I would really like to see like a plan, like what's gonna happen.
You can feel free to respond.
Okay, so first off, I had a little bit of a hard time hearing. So we have to remember that this is part of a restaurant. So it's not just a public, you have to come into the restaurant. We brought this with many different ideas. We thought about maybe bringing in, to draw some people in. It's not going to be a full-blown, probably sit down and have a meal. It'd be a drink, have hot chocolate urns. Maybe we thought about even bringing in a couple ice sculptures, something to draw people in. Light it up like we do now. We have nothing 100% set in stone, just a million ideas of what we could do to bring some life to the back parking lot in the middle of dead of winter. It doesn't have to be a permanent structure. We have a lot of ideas between the two of us. We can make something work like we did now.
And it might be we utilize it part-time. I mean, Charlie's right about one thing, and that is that it gets cold. You're not going to sit and dine outside. The food's going to get cold before you have a chance to eat it. So we are going to have to be smart and clever and come up with events. It might not be open every day that we're open. It may just be weekends. It may be special events. We just want the opportunity. So we had thought winter festivals, ice sculptures, perhaps depending on what the fire department will and won't approve, maybe some fire pits. Maybe people can sit around and have some drinks and toast marshmallows. We have ideas, and they would have to be approved, just like you all approved what we did. The police had to come in and fire had to come in. Everybody had to come in. The liquor inspector had to say yes. So everything that we did and are doing now had to be approved. We haven't gotten approval from you, so we're not going to spend endless time and energy coming up with specific ideas until you have said to us, you know what, nobody else is doing anything with that park. Sure, go ahead. Which is what I kind of thought I heard 2 weeks ago.
It is.
So I don't know if that answered her question or not.
No, not really. But but I understand. Like, I really understand like what you're trying to do and the Concord, and I really understand what you're saying. But I really feel like there needs to be a sense of collaboration because it is a public park. I feel like the public needs a little bit more time to even get inputs to see if there's any resident that has ideas that would collaborate with you and make it something for the public. And make it something that you can benefit from your business, and the public can be involved as well.
So
but I feel like we do need to give it a little bit more time and allow the public to have a little bit more input on it.
I would just say, again, even the entire patio on Silver Street is public property, and we don't ask them to do that. So, I don't.
But we also.
All I'm saying is I wouldn't mind having 2 more weeks so that if anyone else has anything to say, they have a chance to say it. Honestly, I'm in favor of what Jennifer wants to do. When this comes back in 2 weeks, I'm going to say yes. And I think I don't think it would be fair to them to make them go through some process of how they're going to involve the community in running their business. We don't ask Silver Street to do that. We don't ask Cancun to do that. We don't ask the Unicorn to do that.
And the liquor laws don't allow it. So if we're going to have alcohol in that space, it's not something where we can collaborate other than to say, we've hosted events, the chambers had events, that kind of thing can happen. But we can't just make it, if it's where our restaurant has its liquor license, there are limitations for us on that. There is still Castongway Square. We still have the riverfront. So we have other public spaces. If somebody had some great ideas, I would love it. I'd love to see concerts. I'd love to see winter festivals. I'd love to see other people do the same kind of things that we'd love to bring to town. I haven't heard of any people planning anything like that for this winter, but I think those are all great ideas that if anyone in your ward or if any citizen has those ideas, I am in full support.
Yeah, I think this, I think we're looking too much into this resolution, to be honest with you, like the mayor said. I think exactly what we're staring at with the context of the extension of outdoor dining. There's a lot of murky waters we're getting into. We're getting into as-ifs, what ifs, and all kinds of other things. I mean, the innovative and creative ideas that, Lions Den Tavern has come forth with this park have been ongoing. We've been discussing it. They've come for approval several times. It's been ongoing since the beginning of July. And again, I feel like the city of Waterville and this body of the council has been very accommodating to the hospitality industry within the city. I really do, and I fully put out there that I think we will continue to do that, and we're cognizant of the fact that other restaurants and hospitality industries on the other side of Main Street that have limited sidewalk space need to be included, and we want to be, again, recognizing the fact that we want to accommodate them as much as possible. Every single hospitality business downtown needs to have the credence and ability to do something, and we're going to listen to that. And from what I understand, and from the atmosphere of this council, we are willing to pretty much accommodate anybody with anything. We are being very accommodating through the restrictions that have come down from the state, the COVID-19 pandemic. And again, this as is written right now, it doesn't signal to me that we should have a tabling of it. If other business owners want to come forth and have their ideas considered, I think it's an open door and an open window to, fast approval for anything. And I reiterate the fact that, we have been very kind to the hospitality industry in our downtown, and I again commend this body for what it's done and continues to do. And I think, as this resolution is written, what I'm staring at, I don't see any reason to table it.
Councilor Foss?
I concur with Councilor Mayu. Sorry, I'm reading skimming your email for about the third time just to refresh after all the conversation we've just had. I think April 1st, we can fairly safe to say that there's going to be quite a bit of conversation throughout the winter as far as what's coming down the road. And I want to say that that's a hard stop for you guys on April 1st, but be mindful of that because I've talked to everybody. There's a common theme, and that park is not part of the common theme, but the sidewalk extension is. Yeah. And I talked with Mike about that, what that whole thing looks like as far as the concourse as it is. And everybody's common theme was, I'd like to have, I will accept, as you'd put it, Erica, I'll accept the sidewalk if that's what we got to do.
Absolutely.
So, but I'm with the let's not table this. Let's give them the ability to work through the winter, see what they come up with, see what they bring to the downtown, just like they've done now. I haven't seen the concourse this busy, and I'm fairly sure that everybody else is reaping those benefits. Let's see what happens. Let's put a silver lining on COVID for right now. April 1st, though, I'm gonna have a different stance. Okay, so.
Can I add to just one more thing?
Absolutely.
So we discussed the concourse redesign at the last city council meeting, and I said I had been opposed to the design that they chose, which does eliminate the park. I have the design that was voted on. The park is gone in that design. It only added 75 parking spaces. I had a design that I had put forth that they drew up that gave way more parking spaces than that. And that we could then say, all right, let's start at this extra 175 spaces instead, and then let's extend the sidewalks and maybe lose some of those, so all of us on the concourse side can have a better atmosphere and make the concourse side into more of a main street. And I mentioned that at the last meeting. We've never come in here saying, we know we're gonna have the park forever, this is ours. Like, that's not what we feel. I want the downtown to be a better place.
Right.
It's it only behooves us
Right.
to have a thriving downtown and to have everybody busy.
And I think the parking, I'm speaking for myself, I think the parking committee acknowledges that what's going on in the concourse needs to be reevaluated on the parking side of things, how that is. And, you know, but for right now, let's get you through the winter. Let's get to April 1st and see where things are. That's my input.
Are we ready for a roll call on the motion to table?
Yes.
Yes.
Counselor Morris?
No.
Counselor Olivera?
No.
Counselor Mayu?
No.
Counselor Foss?
No.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes,
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 2 in favor and 4 opposed.
Are we ready to vote on this as a whole now? All right, we'll take a roll call, please.
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
no,
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 5 in favor and 1 opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One.
Didn't Eric
Just-
oppose it?
No.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in favor and 1 opposed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
All right, we are moving on. If when Patty's ready, do a little breather on that one. Resolution 201, 2020.
A resolution providing for authorizing a regular municipal election to be held on November 3, 2020.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? We will take a roll call.
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
yes,
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Next is, yeah.
I apologize, but isn't Ward 1 running for Board of Education? Is that just it's not a 3-year term, but I think, isn't she
It's
run?
the next resolution is actually the
Yep.
special municipal
10-4,
election.
thank you.
Yep.
Sorry,
Yep.
my bad.
Resolution 202, 2020.
And the title on this one is wrong, so I'll read it correctly. A resolution providing for authorizing a special municipal election to be held on November 3, 2020.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
yes,
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Resolution 203, 2020.
A resolution providing for establishing hours for voter registration.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion?
If I may, we actually extended hours on 3 evenings during October until 7 p.m. For voter registration and also in-person absentee voting. That'll be on Wednesday, October 14th, the 21st, and the 28th.
Okay. Great. We'll take a roll call.
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
yes,
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Next, we have a discussion item. In-person attendance at city council meetings.
Don't we want to waive cloture on an item?
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
We got a new
I
item?
believe so.
Oh, I have it in front of me.
Thank you, Patty.
That's what that paper was when I walked in.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion, we waive closure on this order. Patty, you want to read that, or?
Yes, if you make the motion and second it and vote on it, then I can read it for.
Perfect.
the
I'll give it a
benefit
second.
Thank you.
of-
Can have a
And we're going to do a roll
roll call on
call
that.
on waiving cloture.
Yeah, we give a roll call on
Yep.
waiving cloture.
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
yes,
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed. Order 204, 2020 is an order providing for acceptance of a Colby College donation.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Did you want me to read the whole thing, or? No?
No.
No.
Okay. Fair enough.
You got an order number on that?
Yes, it's 204.
Thank you.
Just so they get, we do want to give some recognition here. Chief, do you want to just give a quick description of what that is?
So basic, excuse me, in collaboration with Delta Ambulance, looking forward at the ambulance program, we're seeing a lot of benefits. And one of the benefits is utilizing their staff to our advantage. And in this case, we conducted a full inventory of everything we had, and we found that our stretchers were beyond their service life. And as a backup unit, it was no concern at all. But as we move into a full transport service, it was a concern for future consideration, something that we needed to put on the checklist for future investment. So I looked at all my grant opportunities, and nothing really fit. The president of Colby College had assured me about a year ago when I met with him at the fire station that if I needed any assistance in locating any grants, that his grant division would assist us in any possible way they can. So I quickly reached out, sent out an email, and just made contact with the grants division up there. And a week later, Vice President Turp called me and stated that he found a donor for $10,000, and that Colby College would match the donor's $10,000 with a donation from Colby College for $10,000, bringing the total amount to $20,000. And I thank you very much to the city manager for helping me put this together in short order, and this was completely unexpected, so I appreciate waiving cloture and allowing this to come before the council. The reason for the expedient manner at which this is presented is just simply to meet the timeline of October 1st. So we'd like to have it installed in the truck prior to implementation of our ambulance program. And in order to do that, we have to get it in front of the council soon. So thank you very much to Colby College for this donation, and of course the city manager for helping me put this together, and he's going to be handling the receiving the funds.
Great.
Thank
So
you.
there's no objections there.
No.
We'll take a roll call, please.
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counsel Olivera?
Yes.
Counsel Mayu?
Yes.
Counsel Foss?
Yes.
Counsel Frankie?
Yes.
Counsel Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Okay. Now we are at the discussion item of in-person attendance at city council meetings.
I'll take the lead on this one.
Okay?
I'm basically wondering when we can all get in the same room. And I really have to narrow it down to Claude and Flavia. And the reason that I really ask this question now is I happened to be at one of the restaurants, and one of you I saw coming out with a mask on. And so I don't understand why we can't all be in the same room at this point. So, I mean, we've got the 6 feet social distancing here, masks, whatever, you know, I just don't understand why we can't all be in the same room. So I'm hoping to get some enlightenment here.
Councilor Frankie.
All right, you're not wearing a mask presently, Mr. Foss, and I'm one of those people that is in mortal danger of the COVID virus. I'm immune compromised and I'm old. Until I can see that everybody on the council and in the room is wearing a mask, I'm not prepared to risk my life to attend a meeting, particularly when I've been able to attend remotely and be just as involved as if I was in the room with you.
May I?
Yeah.
Is there a threshold, Claude, that for state statistics that would help your decision to come back to in-room session? I mean, I guess, for lack of a better way, I mean, is there, yeah, I guess that's the only way I can put it. Is there something that you're looking for as far as number of cases or versus number of deaths, or, you know, Is there a finish line for you?
I'm looking for the number of masks that are being worn at the council meeting. This evening, I don't see anybody wearing a mask. That means that I'm in danger from anyone on the council.
Okay. Okay, I just need a clear understanding.
A bigger issue I think that we've discussed is actually the live stream, because it's correct me if I'm wrong, Chad's here, Patty's here. It's not so much getting the Zoom going that creates a huge job for all of the staff before and after meetings. It's really the live stream. And like here, we provide a place for the public to be in a separate room where they can still watch in the screen, and they come into the room. Are we good at having you folks Zoom into the meeting, but not having our staff have to do the full live stream, since we are offering a place available to the public?
I would concur with that.
I mean, that's really the.
I could probably try to answer that if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Part of the problem is that we don't have a large enough facility necessarily to have everyone in one room. With the members of the public, if they were in this room, we'd have a difficult time allowing for social gathering. So that's part of the issue why we're live streaming currently. We're running it into the next room where the public is, because of the small space here. This may tie into the next discussion item, in fact, on the agenda, about an alternate site that has become available that is a little bit larger, that we might be able to solve that issue.
Okay. Is there any objection to moving into that item from here then, since?
Well, I don't know, Flavia.
Oh, Flavia, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I mean, right now I think it's just like for me, it's a personal reason why I can't go in. My son had just had a procedure done today. So there's times, like even when I go to restaurants, I find restaurants that are operating under the code and everybody's wearing a mask, and either outside or inside. Like Frankie said, like nobody's wearing a mask there. So right now, my son But as we talk about, like the next agenda item is looking for a bigger space. And as I feel comfortable, yes, I'll definitely go in.
Okay. I just had those questions. I needed answers, and we hadn't had an opportunity to ask those questions of each other. So, thank you.
No problem.
All right, so let's move into the next thing. And Patty, Mike, who's kicking this one off?
Flip the coin?
Well, we made a visit last week, and the mayor was there, Councilor Thomas was there, Patty, myself, and the support staff at the former Congregational Church on Eustis Parkway, and we think the space could really work. It would be a temporary, probably meeting until the spring, but bigger than this room, would allow for more public attendance for sure. There is a concern about the acoustics in that room. I think the only way to find out is to try it, and we'd like to do that next meeting, the 15th, is to meet in that space. So if you've been in the Congregational Church, you go in the front door, and it's the room immediately to your right, which used to be the church part of the building. And I think, we both think, right, it would work. Actually, the huge thing for these folks that do all the work, Joel, Sarah, Patty, Chad, it would allow them to keep all their stuff in that one space for weeks and months on end. Here, after tonight, as you saw last meeting, we got to break everything down, put everything away, cart it out, put it in the cars, haul it away, bring it back 2 weeks later. In this space, we'll be able to leave things. So we'd like to give it a try.
The space is large enough that it actually allows for social distancing. We also have some plexiglass partitions that we could put between counselors if they were a little closer than 6 feet. So the counselors possibly could consider whether they wanted to attend in person, if people were willing to wear masks, or We certainly have masks that we can provide. If that solves the issue, I'm happy to do that, but whatever works. It's a good space. I think the public will be comfortable in the space. There's enough for almost 40 people to be in the room, so that we're almost at a 50-person gathering limit with the council and public attendees.
With the spacing.
With the spacing.
Right, and generally speaking, between now and the end of the year, we don't tend to have a lot of controversial topics. And my main concern has been the extra work that this is all creating for the city staff.
So in theory, if we get into that space on September 15th, we would have no requirement to do the live stream if the public can attend in person with social distancing guidelines. But we'd also want to keep in mind that some people may not feel comfortable coming if they see that people aren't wearing masks, even though there's social distancing. So we have to weigh it all, and if, I'll defer to the council whether you want to continue with the live stream, which is more work for mostly Chad, or if you want us to just do strictly in person at the Congregational Church, and then we can.
Well, and to mention, I mean, I've mentioned this to Chad more than once, that he should be charging us more for the extra work that we've created for him, and I don't know that he has to this point. But if we are going to continue to ask him to do extra work, we should actively pay him more.
I agree with that.
$1 more.
Can we give it a try?
Yeah.
All right?
Wow, remember when we cut videotaping out of the budget to save money?
Yeah, I do remember.
Look how far we've come.
And you put it back in.
And Mike, for the record,
2-3 months.
Yeah.
for the
That was
record,
like the most
the
fun.
planning board meetings would happen there too, like all the city meetings would happen at this space.
Yeah, we would have a key to the facility, and we'll have the equipment set up and the tables set up for meetings, so other meetings could take place there as well.
Okay. Councilor Frankie?
Well, I just like to put in 2 cents for the live streaming. I think it's been a good way for us to get our message out to the public. I know my email box is usually full right after a meeting.
But I guess I would add, is the question the live stream necessarily the key, or is the fact that we record the meetings and we can rebroadcast them as well, which Chad had done in the past, and it's no extra work for him. So is there the need to do the live stream so that people see what's happening at the moment, or is the important thing to do allow for rebroadcast so that they can still be informed of what's happening?
Well, I mean, I'm torn because it's 2020.
I see you, Flavia.
You know, it's 2020, and I mean, honestly, this is probably something we should have started doing before the pandemic. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, if we're going to ask Chad to do it, I certainly think we should pay him more.
And I like the, not to cut you off, but I like the idea of the recorded replay, not so much the live stream.
Right.
Which I guess might become less of an issue if we move to a place where we don't have to pack this stuff up every time. Is that
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big piece of,
The live stream's a big piece.
but the packing and unpacking is the current need that needs to be resolved.
But it's still recorded and published anyway, right?
Yes.
Regardless of whether we're live streaming now or not.
Right.
Correct.
So at
think
the end
that's
of,
what
at the end of the day,
Yeah.
Councilor Oliveira's had her hand up for a while. I want to make sure we get her in here.
Okay, yeah, because we were talking about the live stream, and I find that right now, especially in the society that we in, everything has to be live, because it has to be in the moment. Because if somebody has a question in the moment, they can actually call. So instead of going back and go see a recorded line, they have an opportunity to come to contact us right in the moment. And also too, we gotta be in mind, have in mind that a lot of, especially my area here, a lot of the folks, they're elderly, so they actually appreciate the live stream. They can't go in, so they actually appreciate it.
Okay.
That was it.
Any more discussion on these two discussion items? I mean, are we good moving to this other place? Is the people who are showing up, is that okay with everybody?
And for the interim, we can continue the live stream until such point as we're told not to
Yes, and then, I mean, a bigger discussion is what are we gonna do long-term? I mean, we can't just keep bouncing around from space to space to space for our
Exactly.
council meetings, so we need to come up with a long-term solution to that problem at some point.
You need to build a space with the Greco-Roman architecture. That's what you Sorry, government tends to build really ugly buildings. That's why I threw that in there. All right, counselor updates is where we're at. I have something I want to get to. We brought it up a few weeks ago, and now's, I guess, the time for public input on the Main Street project with the build grant. And we talked about how across from where the Colby dormitory is and the restaurants across the street, how the sidewalks were not going to be equal, and how there would be quite a bit more sidewalk in front of the dormitory. And I know all of the restaurants on the side, on the opposite side of the street, would really love the opportunity to have their sidewalks moved out to an equal distance. So you shave a little off one side and push it out on there, so they have, you know, in the midst of all of this talk about outdoor dining things, the council seemed to take an active interest in that the last time I brought it up. I can get from DOT the reason why that is the way it is in the plan. What I'm hoping this council can do is say, yes, we actually want, we would like we would like the planners to look into this and see how we can change it to make that happen, because that's what I'm just not getting to that point. And I think it has to come from this group here.
I would concur with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've heard it from Amici's owners that they'd like to have expanded sidewalks, so
Yeah.
let's look at that and see if we can make that happen.
We'll
Yeah.
put that on the agenda?
Yeah, I've heard from, HOPA, Waterville House.
Yep.
Do you think the restaurants or people representing them would be interested in a meeting with the DOT people, even if it's a Zoom meeting?
I bet they would.
Yeah.
I would say that.
Yeah,
see why
I'd
not.
be more than happy to arrange that.
Okay.
So
I
if you
bet
could
that would be helpful.
Put me in touch with the people I should contact.
Okay.
I'll do that. I'll set that up with DOT. But here's the point. September 17th, by our contract with the federal government, the design has to be completed. That's not very far away.
No.
Yeah, but we were talking about this a month ago, so if it wasn't brought up, at the end of the day, like, we just need to figure out how to get it done. And you and I have pushed through a lot of barriers we didn't think we could in the past. I
Yeah,
think-
we have.
Yeah. So,
That's why I'm willing to try and set something up.
so maybe
If-
tomorrow I'll get in touch with you, Mike, and help you come up with that list of names.
Yeah,
Good.
and I'd love to be part of that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mike, for that. That's helpful. Any? I did have one more, actually. I sent everybody some audio recordings from the state about the marijuana ordinance. Anyone have a chance to actually listen to those from the actual hearings?
I took your word for it, so if it's something we should address.
So if you listen to the audio recordings, essentially what you hear in there is, because this is from the actual committee meetings where they were writing the laws on the regulation of marijuana, and in there you hear Maine Municipal and the lawmakers come to an accepted agreement that medical caregivers were to be exempted, and the fact that they weren't specified meant that it was implied that they were exempted. You'll hear that in the two audio recordings that I forwarded. Obviously, because medical marijuana caregivers are supposed to be non-identifiable for safety reasons, for a lot of very obvious reasons. So it's, despite the fact that Maine Municipal now is giving Bill Lee advice that we can regulate whoever we want, you listen to those recordings. I would just encourage you all to do it. Amy, I can send them to you if you want. It's very clear that there was an agreement, an understanding that the medical caregivers were to be exempted, and I think that in the spirit of that, and in the spirit of not outing these people, based on what you hear in there, and if someone hears something different, please, I'm not the end-all be-all here of interpretation. Claude, you might actually be good at listening to these with your legal mind and background. just seems like that's the case, and if that's the case, I would love to move forward in the next meeting and have some kind of amendments to the ordinance to remove that piece, because it's the right thing to do, I think. Councilor Frankie?
Well, you're walking on thin ice because conversations that happen before a law is passed are not part of the law itself. So what Bill Lee and the Maine Municipal Association have advised us is actually according to the wording of the law, which is what the law is all about.
Well,
So,
no offense, that's all.
We can ask the legislature to revisit the ideas that you've raised, but we can't change what the legislature's passed.
Yeah, it may be an issue that the state needs to clarify what their intent was. I mean, I'm certainly willing to have the discussion if there's a legitimate discussion to be had.
Yeah, I think we're opening ourselves to lawsuit liability here, and they're discussing the actual law. So, and laws are open to interpretation right now, and no offense, but like, anything a lawyer says is subject to an interpretation. Lawyers are not like gods who tell us what everything means.
And judges are often trying to discern intent when laws are unclear.
Right. And Maine Municipal is essentially a lobbying group for municipal governments and their power. So it's not surprising. Mike?
Well, Maine Municipal doesn't have any right to assign away our rights. Now, Bill Lee has already given you a written opinion about the fact that medical providers can be licensed. This council decided that so. A number of them have already paid fees.
Yeah.
We've collected over $49,000, not just from medical cultivators and providers, but from all marijuana establishments. So almost $50,000. Some of them are medical, and they've already paid.
But I think what Nick is talking about is the whole issue was whether we can go in and inspect them or not, wasn't it?
No, it's
No,
whether we
it's
can
all
identify.
about paying the license fee. This is about money.
So how do we know who all the caregivers are, or is we just pick the ones that we know?
We pick the ones we know. Someone tells us about others. We don't have to go in. We don't release names. When I asked Patty for the list of those who had paid, she gave me numbers. Number 1, number 2, number 3, no names, no location.
Right.
So in terms of confidentiality, there's nothing that's been breached there. This is about one person not wanting to pay a license fee.
Are regular pharmacies do they pay license fees to the city?
Sorry?
Does a regular pharmacy pay a license fee to the city?
No, like what, Walgreens?
You're right.
No.
No. Do they dispense marijuana?
No, they dispense opiates
They
that kill
dispense
people.
much worse drugs than marijuana, Mike. I mean, come on.
Well, this is a marijuana ordinance.
A drug is a drug is a drug kind of thing, you know.
It's a marijuana ordinance we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
If there's a reason to have the discussion, I'm open to having the discussion. Whatever we decide is a different story, but if there's a legitimate reason to believe that we did something wrong, then I'm open to having the discussion.
Yeah. Well, yes, Chief,
I don't want to cloud your discussion. I just want to say that there is a distinct difference in fire safety as it relates to a marijuana growing facility or cultivation facility versus a pharmacy. Therefore, licensure allows us to inspect those properties to ensure that, from a life safety perspective, they're meeting, current fire code compliance.
Well, right, but there's a difference. Not all grow facilities are sales facilities.
Correct. The broad statement of, pharmacy versus marijuana cultivation, they're just different.
I wasn't
How much
implying
did we spend on
cultivation.
Narcan
I was
last
implying
year?
the dispensaries.
A lot. I don't have the exact numbers, but we do administer Narcan on a regular basis.
Point taken.
I have a.
Yep.
I just want to acknowledge the people who reached out to me with concerns about the story in the Morning Sentinel about Kathy Weeks. I just don't want them to think that we're ignoring the issue. But and it's certainly concerning allegations, but I'm going to say the same thing I said in the newspaper, that there is a legal process underway. Ms. Weeks is entitled to due process, and I think until that process plays out, it's not appropriate for me to comment more specifically on the allegations, but I just want people to know that the council takes it seriously. We're aware of it. I've heard their concerns. And at this point, I'm waiting to see what happens with the legal proceedings.
Coming about 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I was one of the no votes on solar farm out on County Road. I'm happy to announce that I've had quite a bit of lengthy discussion with Nick at Dirigo Solar and the Sweats. There seems to be a good agreement coming together for them. So I hope to have that coming to council here pretty quick.
Yeah.
So.
And I've heard the details on that, and I commend Councilor Foss. But I think when you guys see what's gone into it, this is how we get projects done. This is how it probably could have gone in the beginning, but I think this is going to be something that's going to make everybody happy. So kudos.
Yeah. And I have one also. I'm going to pass this down. A few weeks ago, when we passed the budget, one of the downfalls of passing the budget is the school board decided to cut the school resource officer, something that I've heard a lot about and certainly didn't agree with the decision, with the options that, the school board had to, fund the request that we had. So I have been working to try to figure out a way that we can kind of revive this position. And I just want to, we're currently working on, was it going to be an order for next week? The next meeting, is that what we discussed this afternoon?
Order.
Yeah, so to put this back into, the city's court to pass and to fund, and we're working on some ways that we can go ahead and do that. But I wanted to hand this out so folks understood what the resource officer did in advance of this discussion that we'll have in 2 weeks to pass this out, and we'll have more information as the next week goes, but that's kind of the goal of this, is to get this position back into, into the scope.
Sure. I mean, we were going to keep this officer on anyway. I mean, we weren't letting somebody go. The city was just going to absorb it in. My concern is that this was, when you look at the school budget, this was clearly just a political type of cut. There was one that they knew would be shocking, with the assumption that we would just, like we did the last time they cut it, just take it on ourselves. And there's part of me, it's like, this is the second time around they've done this, and if they don't want the school resource officer, we've got clearly plenty of crime on the streets. And I mean, I will defer to Joe Massey. I mean, if he thinks it's better off in the schools, but I think that's just part of the discussion I would want to have on that, is that, so then it was clearly that was the purpose of them cutting this, was knowing that we would swoop into the rescue and do the right thing like we did the last time. So, Councilor Oliveira?
Yes, I had a question regarding the article with Kathy. So is she going to continue attending the planning meeting?
Unless she steps down, I would imagine that she would. Right now, I'm going to defer to what Councilor Thomas said. There's allegations between neighbors. Everybody's allowed due process. Nobody's been impugned of any guilt, and they have their own court process that's going to play out between the two of them.
Yeah, even as a public servant, because she really represents the public at this point. So wouldn't it be more like, I would see it like if she was to step down a little bit, like not be like, until this is done, because she's still in the public eye and she still represents the city. So I understand that, I do agree that we can't do anything not until the court's decision, but I also do agree that she also represents the city at this time.
And Kathy and her neighbors are going to go through their due process in that. And I mean, unless Kathy steps down, if that's a choice of hers, but I don't see otherwise that she would not be attending in meetings. Maybe she won't, but as far as I know, I would expect her to be there.
Right, I would agree. I just think it's premature. You know, I know the public wants something to happen, but Kathy, she's entitled, whatever your opinion, she's entitled to due process. At this point, it's her decision. When the court process is over, then the council will have to make a decision whether we want to act or not. And until that point, I don't think that there's any action we can take, and it's really her decision whether she wants to continue on the planning board or not.
Community notes is a time where if anybody has something that's not on the agenda they would like to speak about, now would be the time to do so. I see we have someone here for a community note. Welcome.
Thank you. Ernie Grolleman, Johnson Heights, member of Doctors and Scientists Against Wood Burning Pollution and some other environmental groups in the past.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, sir.
Okay, I'll speak up, sorry.
Thank you.
I have some new information here that the city should know about. I've been talking to the DEP Air Bureau chief about how to avoid a suit against the state and the city over not enforcing nuisance laws. And while I was reviewing all of the material for that, I came across this writing right here from the Agency for Toxic Substances. It came out in 2016. They had invited me to talk in some kind of forum they were having, and I thought nothing came out of it. But this has come out of it. About 10 years ago, the Surgeon General said that there's no safe level of secondhand tobacco smoke, and they extended that warning basically to wood smoke. And in this writing right here, they basically say that if you can smell wood smoke for 1 or 2 minutes, there's a public health nuisance. And really, it could be more than that. But public health nuisances have to be stopped. There's no discretion for not enforcing the law on this. It's not a common nuisance like a loud noise. This kind of smoke, it's now been determined in recent science, can cause heart attacks and asthma attacks that can kill people in a short period of time. And that's why they came out with this. So it's in writing, it's guidance, what a problem is. When I was talking about this problem many years ago, Henry Beck got involved and Tom Longstaff got involved, and then the city council had a meeting behind closed doors between Tom Longstaff, Bill Lee, and Mike Roy. They changed the laws, the code enforcement laws, to include warnings and prohibitions against smoke, toxic gases, threats to life, health, and safety. But they were never enforced. This defines the threats to life, health, and safety in a very substantial way, and they spent years on this, and they cleared it with the President, the White House, and Congress. So this fall, the DEP Air Chief has agreed to come up and investigate some of the wood smoke problems that I'm having on my street, and I have seen all across the city. He's going to try to get some kind of a monitor set up at Thomas College, where they're probably not going to find any kind of a problem, and at Colby College, where they're probably not going to find a problem. And he says he wants to get some kind of a monitor installed at the high school, where I think they are going to find a problem, unless they put the monitor on top of the roof or something, which they could do, and they did in Augusta. What they should be doing is investigating this as a public health problem, not as a base pollution problem for the Clean Air Act. They should put the monitors at the front door of the school, because that's where I have smelled the smoke. That's where somebody from the DEP has smelled the smoke. That's where people from the high school have smelled the smoke. So I want to give this to somebody, and I'd really like to know if somebody can tell me tonight whether you're going to obey the law, whether you're going to enforce the law, and you're going to stop these threats to life, health, safety, and welfare before somebody else has an asthma attack, like my daughter did, that threatened her life. Or like Charlie Hoffman, my neighbor, had. He had a heart attack. His wife had a stroke. Paul Mitchell had a heart attack. He died. My neighbor, who was burning wood in an indoor wood boiler, had his third heart attack, and he died. There should be a big investigation of what happened in my neighborhood and around my house, because there's an awful lot of deaths, heart attacks, asthma attacks. There was a lady across the street who died of cancer. Wood smoke is 42 times more carcinogenic than secondhand tobacco smoke.
To be clear,
Can you
are you asking
tell
us?
me
Are you
if
asking,
you're going to enforce the law?
To be clear, are you asking us to tell you that we're going to outlaw
No.
wood stoves?
I'm asking you to enforce the existing laws and stop and prevent the health problems, the health nuisances
I understand.
from wood smoke. It's new science. I know.
Excuse me. Stop yelling at me. I'm talking now.
He wanted me to raise my voice.
We go way back already, all right? I guess, but you need to be clear to the council what you are asking.
Are you going to enforce the law,
okay, you
yes
don't
or
need
no?
When you say enforce the law, what you're
The
asking
health
is...
nuisance laws.
All right, can you stop talking over me? Can you you need to calm down a little bit here, because I'm trying to get an exact answer. Saying enforce the law, they have no idea what you're talking about. Are you saying you want them to enforce the law by prohibiting wood stove heat in the city? Is that specifically what you're after?
When there's a threat to life, health, safety, and welfare, it has to be stopped. It's a public health nuisance law.
What has to be
by
stopped?
state nuisance law.
What has to be stopped?
Any threat to life,
What is
health,
the threat?
and safety.
What is the threat?
The threat that I'm talking about, I've been talking about to the federal government, the state government, and the local government, is the threat to life, health, and safety from wood smoke.
Mike?
We need to move on.
Yeah.
Mr. Groleman, we've already given you that answer in writing multiple times. It's the same answer that we've given you before. There's no prohibition against people burning wood in the city of Waterville.
There's a prohibition against any threats to life, health, safety, and welfare. And wood smoke is now known causes heart attacks and asthma attacks.
I'd be happy to look at that for you if you'd leave that with me, and I can show that to Bill Lee and we can talk about it. Is that something you want to leave here?
Yes, actually.
Okay. Why don't I take that and I can let you know.
I have been told by multiple people that the problem is not the CEO. The CEO agrees that there's a problem. The LHO agrees that there's a health problem.
Giving me a copy of that.
The fire chief and all of the officers in the fire department want to stop it. They're supposed to stop it. But
Okay, Ernie.
politicians will not let Mike Roy order the fire department, the police department, and anybody else to enforce all of these laws.
All right, Ernie, we're going to wrap this up, but I think you're wrong.
Okay. The DEP air chief is going to be, or somebody, some inspector from the DEP
I don't think
is gonna be up
any of our city employees are looking to stop people from burning wood.
Something that's not ours.
Yeah.
All right, it
Is
looks
that-
like some action is going to have to be taken.
Okay. All
Through
right,
the courts,
we're
or
done.
whatever.
Ernie, we're done. Thanks.
I'm going camping this weekend.
I think it's manager's report.
Oh, we have another community now?
Yep.
Real quick, all right.
Do we
Sorry, you
matter?
guys
No,
had
sorry.
not seen enough of me yet. Jennifer Bergeron. I, along with being a restaurant owner, have a medical marijuana caregiver grow. So I just want to make some comment toward what you guys, I hope, are bringing up on the next agenda. And that is, it was stated that it's just one person not wanting to pay a fee that's bringing this up. My business partner and I have been trying to give a $2,000 check to the city for quite a while now. We finally, as of maybe 2 days ago, got an email stating that the light bill in the concourse has been about $50 a month, and we could donate the other remaining portion. He thought it was a $1,000 check, it's $2,000, and he gave us some other places we could donate it. The fee for a caregiver facility is $500. That is not what this is about. So when I've brought it up before and said I'm opposed to this, it is because caregivers are different. I choose to stand up here and fight for caregivers, but you're not supposed to know who any caregiver in this town is. If the police department has an issue, they can call up and ask the state, hey, is something going on at this location? Is this something that is allowed? And the state can answer. But they're not even supposed to know where the caregivers are located. It is a privacy issue, it's a safety issue. It is that there are so many different types of caregivers that it's not like a caregiver storefront. And our ordinance, when I was on that committee that put forth a recommendation, which did not include a fee on caregivers. It included a fee on caregiver stores, and I am for that. If there was a way of differentiating between the different tiers of caregivers, I would be for my own facility having a fee. There's not. So how do you differentiate between a caregiver that cares for a family member, a caregiver that cares for 3 patients, or a caregiver that has a rotating list, or a caregiver that wholesales to other people? There are so many different types, and I don't think that this council understands, because even I'm in this business and the laws are this thick, you know, there are so many rules and statutes and they change constantly, and it is specifically caregivers who are cultivators that I have an issue with that fee. And it is not personally for me to not pay a $500 fee. I wouldn't show up here time and time again for that. I wouldn't show up to volunteer for the ordinance committee. That's blatantly ridiculous. So I just want to state that if it's about $500, I'll give the city $500, not as a fee on caregivers. So that's my note.
Thanks.
Any questions?
I do.
Okay.
When is Erica's opening?
You know what? I have that question too. I'd like to.
You said September 1st. Today's September 1st. I had to cook my own breakfast this morning.
I'm so sorry.
Now I'm inconvenienced, so I'd like an answer.
We really wanted to be open this weekend, but I really think it's going to be next week now. As I mentioned before, I've ordered tables for the last 2 months. I think we're going to be opening with rented tables. Yeah, everything takes longer than you want it to, so. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It is what it is.
Okay.
I'm a
Thank
good
you.
cook, so it works out.
Mike, it appears now you're up.
Councilor Thomas asked at the last meeting for a list of projects and things that I've been working on, so that's what I just passed out. I assume we'll want to talk about that at a later meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is one important item left. It's the last item on my list, and that's why that gentleman is here, Matt, because it involves our Public Works trash truck. And I promise, Matt, you'll be first on the agenda next time. So, last
Should have brought a
week-
snack.
Learning a lot. Last week, the dual packer truck broke down. We We sent it to Bangor. Mike. And it's being repaired in Bangor, and we just want to let the council know that in that time, since last week, we've been commingling recyclables and trash, putting them all in the second packer truck, the used packer truck we have, and taking that to Norridgewock. Our intent is to continue with that for the next 2 weeks, unless we hear from you tonight that you want us, and that's what I highlighted in yellow.
Yep.
Matt laid out 3 options that you see there in yellow. The third option is the expensive one, and that is for us to pick up trash with one truck and for us to hire a separate truck for recycling. So our intent, and it's 2 weeks at least, right, Matt?
At least, yeah, they still haven't diagnosed the transmission problem yet, so we're expecting that it won't be more than 2 weeks, but we're not promising.
So this week, next week, hopefully the week then of
I
the,
think it's September 14th.
we get our truck back. In the meantime, recyclables and trash going into one, going to the landfill.
Makes sense. Option one's the only reasonable one, I think, on there.
Do it.
I think as long as the public is aware that,
Yeah.
listen, for the next 2 weeks, if you put your recycling out on the curb, we're going to take it, but it's not going to be recycled.
We'll go to the Armory Road.
So
yeah.
if you want it to be recycled, you either have to hold on to it or you have to take it to the Armory Road.
Yep.
And the biggest thing here, when this thing breaks down for, I think, the 42nd time, is, geez, I didn't know. So can we do something in the paper?
Advertise
I mean, I
it,
know
yeah.
we do it on social media, but,
Yeah, we can do that, certainly.
you know,
Councilman Morris had asked before, I think maybe Councilor Thomas, about robocalls. I think we're not equipped to do that. We don't have the capacity.
I can teach you how to do it. It's real easy. And it's cheap.
I think at some point that would be a real handy device to get information out to people quicker. But we'll put it right out as soon as we can with a notice in the newspaper and along with social media.
if that thing's in the shop again, like it is
He didn't
now,
buy it. He wasn't here for that.
Well,
can we do anything while it's in the
Robocalls
shop
are the best.
to the truck that won't keep it out of service later down the road? Any maintenances that need to get done?
I think we're trying those things, those preventative maintenance things we're doing with that piece of equipment, and it hasn't.
It's not going well.
but I think what I'd like to say is
I
that
see you, Councilor Frankie, I promise.
I'm sure this truck breaks down a little more than a regular Packer truck. But part of the reason that we really hear about it is because we don't have a backup for this truck. Our only backup is a regular Packer truck. Before, we had 2 regular Packer trucks. So if one of them broke down, nobody knew because the other one was out doing the job. But now when this truck breaks down, everybody knows because our other truck is not a dual Packer truck. So that's why you hear, it seems like the trash truck is broken down way more than the previous one was. I would guess that's probably not really the case. It's probably broken down a similar amount. This thing is on the road every day.
Ooh, question. Sorry, I'll let.
Councilor Frankie.
Well, when I lived in Maryland back in the 90s, the county had a transfer station that accepted recycles, and there they just had the giant bins like you see around for people to receive when people clear out their house. They bring the big bin for people to throw stuff in. So my question is it possible to do something like that at the city transfer station that people could be able to deposit their recycles themselves?
There is no city transfer station.
Well, there's property, we have property at the former transfer station, but you understand it's not a transfer station anymore, obviously. I think that's an option. I'd like some help and guidance from the solid waste committee though, Councilor. I think it's an option that we could consider. I've seen those bins too. They seem to work well.
This is why iRecycle is there. We pay them a fee so that people can bring their stuff there. So people have an option to bring their stuff to iRecycle.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you.
Gosh, we could have squeezed that one in on the front end for you. Sorry about that. All right. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Great.